This is Chris Pires. This is the Real Deal Marketing Hangout. How you guys all doing? Hope you guys can see me. This is actually my first live broadcast. And I just want to let you guys know what's going to be going on here. I will wait a couple of minutes till other people can jump on. But I just want to know if you guys could see me, could hear me. Leave your comments below if you can. Let me know that I got this thing working. I don't know if it's set up right, but we'll figure this out. All right, so I'm going to be looking at the comments on my other computer to see if you guys can see me. So leave your comments below if you can see the comments. Let me know that I get everything set up right. Can you guys see me? All right. So let me see if I could put the comments. Oh, the comment box is not working, Katie. I got it set up, but I don't know why it's not working. Well, we'll have to figure it out on the next one then. Okay, well, here we go. I'll give it like a minute or so before I get into it. I'm not going to keep you guys long. Basically, going to give an overview of what my Hangout is going to be. Now you can see more of my house. I'm gonna clean up. Lucky you guys can't see the rest of it. All right. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Pires. I'm an internet marketer. I'm also a real estate investor. Before I get started, I want to tell you guys what happened just before I came here live on this Hangout. The most ironic thing happened. I'm actually pissed off. You want to know what happened? Well, I actually went to the store a little while ago, about an hour before this Hangout. I came back, okay? I came back and I actually needed a quick shower. So what I did is I put my food down on the chair over here, and the chair that's beside me is actually Mr. Peanut's chair. You guys can figure out what happened. I had chicken legs. I had some chicken thighs. It was wrapped in a plastic. So I just left it there in the bag. You know, I'm thinking no big deal. It's sitting on the chair. Well, I go take my shower, and I come back out of the shower, and lo and behold, Mr. Peanut is eating my chicken. He got into my bags, and he's chomping on my chicken. Man, that pissed me off, man. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that he actually did that. He actually knows better than that, not to eat my food, especially when I have it on the table. If I have cooked food on the table, he never touches it. You know, and I can leave, come back, and he'll sit there and he won't touch it. Well, for some reason, I came back and he was chomping on one of my chickens raw. He had opened the bag and he was chewing on it. Man, I got really angry with him. I'm just very surprised he actually did that. Smacked him in the nose a couple of times. Not hard, but, you know, just enough to let him know that that's not what you're supposed to do. So right now he's actually sitting in his bed and he's just looking at me, and he wants to get out of his bed, but he's not. I couldn't believe he actually did that. Can you believe that? Anyways, before I start this Hangout, let me tell you a little bit what's going on and what's going to be happening. A little bit about myself and what you guys are going to expect on this Hangout. First off, this is actually my first Hangout. And as Katie's, oh, there goes my phone. 1 second. I just shut the phone. All right, sorry about that, guys. Anyways, my phone was beeping. But anyways, again, where was I? A little bit about myself. Again, my name is Chris Pires. For all of you guys that don't know who I am, most of you do know me. I have been an internet marketer now a few years now, little over 3 years, 3.5 years. And I want to tell you that, this was not an easy road for me getting started in this business. And my answer machine is going off. I should have turned it off. But anyways, they picked the wrong time to call. And it's always something always happens when you get ready to do something. But yeah, so I've been a marketer for a few years, and I'm going to tell you that, and I'll be very transparent with you guys, that this has been the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Usually I'm a guy that, once I do something, I continue it until I get it done. And I usually have some struggles, but this has been the most hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But one thing I would say about me is I'm not a quitter. I may fuss and fight and want to bite my own arm off. But one thing, I never quit. I just kept learning, kept growing, because you know why? I know this works. We all know this works. Who's ever in this business, we know it works. And if it's not working, it's because of us. It means we're not marketing right. We're just, we're learning. And of course, there's also a learning curve when you're learning how to market. So it's all about you developing your skills. Now, some people may get into this business and they fly with it. And, sometimes I just wonder, that maybe they're just a little smarter, but that's just not it. Just some people, it's like anything. It's like if you're in school, I mean, think about it. When you were in high school or grade school, how many kids got the material while you were stuck still trying to understand it? My thing in school, I was not great in math. I'm actually better at it now, but I was not great in math, but English and spelling, that was my thing. And I actually had to go to school, summer school, a couple of times for math. And I actually went to school, summer school for English too at one time. But another thing is, you're going to laugh. Just want to give you a little bit about myself. A little thing is, you want to know what I did fail in school? Most people don't fail this stuff. I failed gym. Who the hell fails gym? I failed gym. I had to go to summer school for that. Why? Because I would not dress. I always had my nice clothes on, and I did not want to sweat and, get all dirty and funky. So I never dressed for gym. But just giving an idea that, there are things that you can fail at, but the whole thing is I didn't put effort into that. So, but anyways, that's that. So what we're going to learn here every week on my channel, once you join, as I said, I'm a marketer. I'm going to be sharing some material here that's basically going to skyrocket your business. I know a little bit more about this business, that I feel a little comfortable now doing these Hangouts. And as you see, you started seeing me doing Facebook Live. I always thought that I could, when I got started with this business, I always thought that I could be behind the scenes, just stay behind the scenes and not be showing my face when I did videos or anything to do with marketing, and think that I could just come online and be successful in this business. Boy, was I wrong. Whole different ball game, and I'm learning now that, in order to grow your business, you have to be in front of the camera. You have to put yourself out there so you can grow your business. I mean, that's what it's called, right? It's called network marketing or online marketing. In order to be successful in this business, you have to put yourself out there. Now, if you're struggling, this could be one of the main reasons, is because you're not putting yourself out there. And let me tell you, if you're in this business and thinking you could be behind the sidelines and not be engaging with people live, you're going to fail. I will tell you that right out the gate. You will fail. No doubt about it. Now, the word is no doubt about it, but I say it in slang, no doubt about it. Okay, that's just the way I say it, because I keep it real. And how did I get the name, The Real Deal Marketer? Well, I was actually thinking of names that I could use for my business, and I wanted to use wanted to use something a little different than most people have. So I started just writing down a bunch of names. And before I came up with the name, I did get with my coach and we just masterminded and see what would be the best name for me. And what I do is if I want to do something and if I have an idea, what I do is I write down maybe 10 ideas and I leave it and I go to sleep. And then I wake up in the morning and say, was that a good idea or not? Okay. And then I change my mind if I need to. And then I, accordingly to what I feel that it should be. So that's how I came up with the Real Deal Marketer, because I am real. I come straight from my heart, from my brain. I don't hold nothing back. And who I am is who I am. So in this business, you're always going to have people who either love you or hate you. And that's part of life, period. You could be the best person in life, so be it. You could be the best person in life, and you're always going to have haters. That's just a part of life. Even Mother Teresa had haters, if you guys know who she was. Look at our friend there. Well, I won't say friend, Donald Trump. I mean, as far as political, I'm not even going to get into that. But, there are people that like Donald. There are people that like Hillary. I'm not going to tell you who I like right here on camera. I'm not going to cause any confusion because everybody has their likes. So that's why I call myself the Real Deal Marketer. I come from the hip to the lip, and I just say what I feel. I do talk a little slang, so if you have a problem with that, oh well, it's who I am. I will not be fake and try to pretend to be somebody I'm not. And that's the one thing in this business. The key thing is that you have to come off as yourself. When I first started in this business, I actually tried to be salesman-like, and I tried to be this professional marketer and tried to do things all perfect. Well, I learned really quick that you have to just be yourself in this business. You can't try to be somebody you're not. You can't come off as like a salesman. In the beginning, when I started this business, I used to get feedback from my mentors, and I was trying to get everything perfect. And I noticed that my mentors were telling me that I sounded like a car salesman, especially on my YouTube videos. Now, I am a video marketer. I am a blogger. And I also do Twitter and I do Instagram. So right now, I'm actually in the process of mastering not Instagram. I'm in the process of mastering Twitter. I do have a good engagement on Twitter. I believe it's over 2,000 followers. And believe it or not, when I started on Twitter, I had literally about 100 followers, 200 followers, something like that. And as of today, I believe I'm at 2,000 followers. And that was only a matter of a month and a half. Why? Because I'm an engaging marketer. And that's the key to this business. You have to engage. Facebook Live was actually the hardest thing I actually had to do. My mentor, and he might be on here, his name is Dave Rainica. He was always telling me, Chris, if you want to be successful in this business, you got to do your own Hangouts and you got to do Facebook Live. And I'm like, Facebook Live? Are you crazy? I'm not getting myself in front of camera. I'm not a person to just throw the camera on and talk. You know what I'm saying? So what I did is I just made videos from my phone and I uploaded it to Facebook and YouTube and all the other social media platforms. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to show Dave that I can do this without doing no Facebook Live. Well, you know what? My business suffered for a long time because I wasn't networking with people. I wasn't engaging with people. I wasn't doing this thing. If you looked at some of my on my Facebook videos that I have on my Facebook, I wasn't doing this thing we call attraction marketing. And if you don't know what attraction marketing is, I highly suggest you look it up. Go on Google. Google is your best friend, and you will find out that that is the way to go right now in marketing. Attraction marketing, get heartburn, is the key to this business. Without attraction marketing, you're not going to be very successful. Yeah, you might have some success in this business, but you're not going to be that successful. All right, so now my background. Where did I come from? Why did I get in marketing? And why am I doing marketing right now? Well, first off, I am a real estate investor. As I said, I've been a real estate investor over 30 years now. That is my primary bread and butter income, and that's how I live and how I eat, is to do the real estate. But here's the problem. I've been doing real estate for so long, 30 plus years, that I'm actually burnt out. You know, I own property. I'm just burnt out of just dealing with tenants, taking them to court, literally getting fist fights with some of my tenants, not because of me being the attacker. It's because of them, because you know, a lot of times I get tenants that are just bad tenants, dealing with drugs in some of my buildings. And you know, I had to do a lot of evictions. I made some we call frenemies, but that's okay. This is my business. You know, I'm not going to have the cops, you know, come and take my property because you know, letting my tenants do drugs in my property. So, you know, it's just part of life. You know, you learn and grow. I started in real estate when I was 24 years old. It was the first time I bought my first home, and I bought it using no money and no cash. Well, 30 years later, fast forward, is I'm actually trying to get rid of all my properties, believe it or not. Yeah, I can make a lot of money, but it's the headaches. I'm a little older now. Most of you know how old I am. You know I look young, but I'm kind of ancient. And so I decided that I wanted to look for another stream of income. So what I did is I went online searching for other streams of income, and you got to be very careful because there are a lot of scams out there. You know, and I will tell you right now, and I'll be the first one to tell you, and anybody that knows this business or knows business at all knows that I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, about 8 on a scale of 1 to 10, 8 are a scam. I would say 90 to 95%, if you're going to go 1 to 100, are scammy. There's scams out there. There's not too many things out there that are actually really legit. So you just got to be the one to find legit programs out there. Now, I've tried program after program after program. I tried so many things in my life that I almost believe that there was nothing out there that actually worked. And I was ready to give up, looking. You know, this is where we're talking about looking for something. And I came across a couple of systems that did work. And then there was problems with those systems, not because of me. It's because maybe the company went belly up, or maybe there was some issues with the company. So, you know, I went ahead and looked for another stream of income. And I found the system that I am in right now that I'm using. And it is legit. And I am actually successful now with the system I'm in. And as I said, I was not always successful in this business. You know, there were times I said I want to throw my computer out the door. There was another instance that I even, I won't say recently, maybe about a month or two ago, I got so angry and I told my coach that I'm done. I can't do this. This is not working. I can't do it. Maybe this is not for me. And as we know, in internet marketing, it is a really hard business to really get going if you've never done this in your life. But the key thing here is that you got to keep going. You can't quit. And what I did to keep going, what motivated me to keep going, I kept surrounding myself with leaders of this business. I kept surrounding myself with people that are in the same niche as I am. And I got rid of all my negative friends. You know, I have a Facebook account which caters just to my marketing. And of course, I have my own personal Facebook account, which I have my friends, my family, people I went to school with. And so I have a couple of Facebook accounts, actually more than 2. I won't get into that right now, but I have more than 2 Facebook accounts. So I actually created a new Facebook account with just this business. And what I did is I went ahead and just stopped building that up. Yeah, it's a little harder to do. to build it up, but I've now built it up where I have over, I believe, over 1,000 friends now. But that took time. It took 3 years to build that up. It took over 3 years to build that up where I have over 1,000 friends. I think I'm at like 12, 1,500, something like that. And then, as I said, I built my Twitter following up. So now I'm having a little bit much more success because you know why? I'm using this thing called attraction marketing. And now I know my business is starting to grow. And I'm noticing now that this was the way I should have gone many times. I should have got into this attraction marketing thing years ago. I probably would have been much more successful in my business, and I probably would have been one of the leaders that are out there. Well, I'm still a leader, but I'm not where I want to be. We all have goals in life. So I would tell you right now, if you're a struggling marketer, find out what attraction marketing is. If you want to reach out to me after the Hangout, you can actually reach out to me, and I can show you exactly what I do to actually grow your business. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself personally. This is something, it's very, I don't know what's the word I want to use. It's very dear to me. That's not really the word I want to use. It's very hard for me to share because before I get into this business, or before I even got into real estate, I had a bad past. You're talking to a guy, and this is only to encourage you, not to brag about my past or glorify it, because I do not glorify my past. I really hate sharing my past because it brings up a lot of negative stuff in my life, and it causes me to go back in my life, and kind of bring that past up, which I'm never going to forget my past. I made a lot of mistakes, and nobody's fault but my own, the mistakes I made. Now, here's where I came from. And what I'm saying is this is only to encourage you, to let you know that if the real deal marketer can do it, Chris Pires, you guys can do this, okay? Now, before I get into my story, I will say I knew nothing about this business if I didn't say that. Nothing about marketing. This is like me trying to become a doctor, okay? Now, I am not a doctor, but I'm just saying, if you want to become a doctor, you know that it's something that you've never done, right? I want to give a great example. So marketing is something I've never done in my life, okay? So my past of how I got started in this business and a little bit about myself is that I'm a recovering, I don't want to say recovering because I am recovered. But people always, when they go to the 12-step program for drugs and alcohol, they say they're a recovering alcoholic. Listen, if you're not doing drugs and you're not getting drunk with alcohol, you're not a recovering alcoholic. You're a recovered alcoholic. I mean, if you got some time under your belt, you're not recovering. How are you still recovering? You're recovered. You might go to the meetings to encourage other people. Well, I never had a problem with, I never had a problem with alcohol. In fact, a lot of people don't believe me, but I've never touched alcohol in my life. I barely know what beer tastes like. I've never drank alcohol in my life. Drugs, I never did many drugs in my life either. But I did some hard stuff. I mean, my drug of choice was, of course, marijuana. I mean, most people, when they start doing drugs, they start doing the small stuff, the marijuana. So marijuana, and the first time I ever smoked a joint, I was 21 years old. That was the first time. I never did no drugs in school. So that continued on my life. And then once I got into smoking marijuana, and also I've also been into health. Now, how do those two collide to each other? I've been a bodybuilder all my life. Right now I haven't been in the gym in a while, about 8 months. I'm recovering with a shoulder injury. I have a rotator cuff injury that I'm almost ready to go back to the gym. But that's actually my thing. So my drug of choice was marijuana. And when I wasn't doing marijuana, you know what I was doing? Good. I was doing steroids, bodybuilding. In order to be in bodybuilding and to compete in bodybuilding competitions, and I used to compete in my 20s and a little bit in my early 30s. I used to be competing on stage, posing on stage. And, I won a couple of local contests a little bit back when I was living in California. I'm originally from Cape Cod, Mass, but I moved to California in I think it was 1986, because it was a dream to go to be a famous bodybuilder. So I went to California. I actually worked out in the 80s with, if you guys are my age, I worked out with all the pro bodybuilders. I've met Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was competing in bodybuilding. I met a lot of pro bodybuilders in my time, and that was my thing. So I used to lift weights with the pro bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders. I met a lot of movie stars too that used to work out in California. So that was my dream, to be a professional bodybuilder. I've actually been bodybuilding since I was 12 years old. So that was my dream. But as I got into the steroids, it just changed my attitude. Meaning that, you guys see how I am, and I'm very sociable. Well, when I was doing steroids, I was completely opposite. I was like this every day. I wanted to beat people up every day. I was always an angry guy, and I did get in a few fights, and got my butt kicked a few times because I thought it was all that. But that was my dream, to, be a professional bodybuilder. And then I got into a point where it started making me angry all the time. Got in fights with my ex-wife. And my ex-wife, one thing about her, I would say, I'm not going to get all into it, and she's a warrior. My ex-wife, you want to know something? She used to beat me up. Okay? She used to beat me up, and we would argue, and my ex-wife had a temper. Pow! She would smack me, smack me. And I used to take it until one day, I'm not going to lie, there was one time in the 15 years that I was married that I actually put my hands on her. I actually picked her up and I threw her right through the sheetrock. I picked her up in midair, threw her right through the sheetrock. Okay, and that was because of, we call it roid rage, R-O-I-D, steroid rage. I just got pissed off on her hitting me, and I'll give you an example. You get a tame dog, a dog that doesn't bite. You keep hitting him, and what's going to happen? He's going to hit you. He's going to bite you back. Eventually, he's going to bite you back, and that's how I am. I let people just walk all over me, and I'm still kind of that way. I let people walk over me until I just explode. It's kind of the wrong thing, but the steroids actually gave me that adrenaline. It gave me that anger, and I was winning contests, and I was cut like a, what, okay, but I had to, and I was also worried about my health, that maybe I might have a heart attack being on steroids. That was my drug of choice. So I did steroids for about 3 years. And that's all I did it for, 3 years. But when I seen the anger coming out of me, until today, I don't understand how these professional bodybuilders, they take steroids day in and day out. So I never got no health problems, thank God, knock on wood. I never had any health problems, but it just made me angry. And then once I started doing steroids, I got out of doing steroids. Well, I was starting to do bodybuilding naturally. And then what happened is I moved to a different area. I was actually renting when I first moved to San Diego, California, back in 1986. And in 1989 is where my life took a turn for the worse. 1989, we moved from a nice area of San Diego. I was actually living right near SeaWorld. I was right there, so I got to see the killer whale, Shamu, the killer whale. I was like literally a stone throw away from some SeaWorld. I was living in a nice area, but I was renting. And it came to a point where, we decided to buy. At that point, I have 4 kids grown, but I had 3 kids when I was living in California. So I grew up my 3 kids, got married. I got married. I was with my wife for 15 years. Since I was 19 years old, I was with my ex-wife. So what happened is we moved to an area which was not a great area. It was actually the ghetto. But it was my thing was, instead of renting, paying somebody else to be rich, why not buy our own house? So that's what I did. I bought my own house at 24 years old. Again, like I said, no money, no nothing, whatever, because I started getting in real estate at around that time. Well, moving in a bad neighborhood, well, you know what happened? The hood got me. I started making friends with the wrong people, and before you know it, I was actually smoking crack cocaine. It's something I never did in my life. I would never smoked crack cocaine. I never did cocaine in my life. That was literally my first experience. And I'm like, you know what? What do people get out of this thing as big as a fingernail? And they're smoking this and they're getting high. And I was actually smoking marijuana, and then I stopped smoking marijuana and I started smoking crack cocaine. Well, there went my bodybuilding. I went from like the weight I am. Well, right now I'm a little heavy. I'm 200 pounds now. I was about 180 at that time in 1989 bodybuilding. So imagine this guy, and I'm only 5'3", and I was 180, so I was pretty jacked on steroids. I went from being jacked. You want to know what I did? In about 6 months' time, I was smoking crack, and I hit it really good for my ex-wife. In a matter of 6 months, I went down to 100 pounds, soaking wet. In 6 months, my parents came to visit me, and they're looking at me and they're like, what happened with all the muscles? Well, I mean, I always have this chubby face like a pit bull. And I went down to looking like death warmed over. And I was hiding it from my parents. I hid it from my wife, my kids. And basically what I was doing to actually get my habit was about $600 a day smoking crack. Okay. And I got to stop saying that okay. But anyways, when I had a $600 a day habit smoking crack. So I lost a lot of weight. My mom came visit me. She would come every year for the holidays to visit us. And when she came out to see me, she actually thought I had cancer and or AIDS. She goes, what is wrong with you? You went from being this big jolly green giant guy to now a guy that's 100 pounds. Now, let me tell you something. I graduated from high school 120 pounds. I had a 30-inch waist. When I was smoking crack, I went down to a 26-inch waist. That's a woman's waist. Okay, I couldn't even fit in the clothes I fit in the high school. And before you know it, I started getting in trouble with the cops. I started going to jail. And then what I was doing to feed my habit is I was stealing. I was robbing people on the street. I was robbing people at gunpoint. And then it came to a point as I was breaking in people's houses while they were asleep, home. I mean, I literally had a wife. I don't know why it was like this, but it was literally a wife here, a husband here. I actually walked in the middle of them, took her wallet, took her purse or whatever, actually stole the whole living room set while they were sleeping. And I'm not glorifying this at all. It's really hard for me to share this. So, please be aware of that. It's really hard for me to share this. And I actually want to tear up because I took my family through a lot of stress. Before you know it, I got locked up, and I actually did my first term in jail. I did a 4-year term in jail. They got me with burglary. They never found any stuff. I just took a deal, and I did a 4-year term in state prison. First time I ever been to prison in my life. I did a 4-year term, got back out. My actual wife stood by me at that time. She stood by me. She stood by me. And I thanked her for that. She stood by me. I got back out of jail, did my 1-year parole. I did it clean, not necessarily clean, but I did it pretty clean. I did relapse when I got back out for a little bit. I did it clean, and I got off parole in 1 year. Well, check this out. And this is why I had to go to counseling. I actually, after that, right after I got off parole, once I put my mind to something, I do something. So I did that so I could spend time with my family. But after I got off parole, you know what happened? Within a week later, a year later now, I had not done no drugs. I started right back to the crack again. I was actually doing it all over again. Instead of a $600 habit, I had a $2,000 a day habit. And that sounds hard to believe. Okay? It was between $1,500 to $2,000 a day habit. I was literally doing the same thing, right back to robbing people, breaking in people's houses, and basically I found myself in jail this time again a year later. And you know what I was facing? I was facing 2 life sentences. They gave me the 3-strike rule. In California, if you get in trouble 3 times, they have a thing called the 3-strike law. Well, I didn't get my strikes from California. I actually got my strikes from Massachusetts because when I was 18, I got into a little trouble when I was a young kid. I did like 10 days in county jail, whatever, basically for the same crime, breaking and entering. But I broke into business at this time. I was a little bad boy when I was younger. So this time I was facing 25 years to life. Okay. So now I'm under the gun and I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to beat this? And at that point, my mom was petrified. I mean, my mom was actually, I took her through a lot of stress. My mom was actually about my age I am now at the time. My mom was so emotional, and they came with a deal. And they said, you know what, Chris, we're going to give you a deal. And you know what the deal was? Crazy deal. They said, instead of giving you 25 to life, we're going to give you 18 years. So you do 18 years and you can get out of prison after 18 years. And I'm like, 18 years, 25 years, man, I'm not doing none of that. I'm going to fight it. I fought it. And everybody was saying while I was locked up, take the 18 years, Chris. Take it. It's better than doing life. I would have had to literally do 25 years. Actually, not 25 years. I would have literally had to do 20 years before I would have been eligible for parole if I took that, if I went to trial. So they told me to take a deal of 18 years. I didn't take it. I just fought my case. They actually have a law library in prison. So I just fought it, and I went to the law library and I put my own case together because I was going to represent myself. Why? Because I'm crazy. I'm not crazy, but I was crazy at that time. I was going to represent myself. Why? Because they had no proof. They literally had no merchandise. They had no fingerprints. They had no witnesses. They were just basically going on the assumption that somebody, which is a neighbor, seen me walking by this house when that crime was supposedly committed. That was all they had. They had nothing else on me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to fight this. So they actually told me, my attorney at that time, which he was a public defender. And I don't know if you know this term, but we call them public defenders. We call them public pretenders because they're not really lawyers. They work for the state. I mean, they're real lawyers, but they work for the state. They're not a really practicing attorney. So my attorney came and said, they want to give you 18 years, whatever. I didn't take it. Then they came with another deal. Another deal was 10 years. Actually, I'm sorry, 9 years. And I didn't take that. My mom was crying on the phone. She told me, take the 9 years. I mean, they went from life to 9 years. And I just said, something? I'm not going to take the 9 years. One thing with Chris Pires, I'm either all or nothing. It's either all or nothing. There is no middle ground with me. That's just the way I believe. I've always been this way all my life, all or nothing. So what happened was they came with a deal of 9 years, and they said, this is going to be your last offer. My attorney said, you got to be crazy not to take that. Out of 9 years, I would have had to do maybe 6 or 7 years. I would have had to do half my time because they give you good time, half your time in prison. So I would have literally had to do it at least 5 years before I would have been eligible for parole. Well, I didn't take that either. Then they came with one more deal. I think it was 5 years or 6 years, and I didn't take that either. My family was irate. My mom was going crazy. And she said, you have to be crazy not to take that 5 years. They went from life to 5 years, and I still didn't take it. I kept going to the law library, and I kept putting my case together. I actually tried to fire my attorney, and you have to know the laws in order to fire your attorney. You can't just say, hey, I want to fire my attorney. And they would say, no, denied. you have to use a term. We call it a show cause hearing. And you gotta, if you say the right words, they're gonna give you that hearing, and you have the right to fire your attorney. Because me and him just weren't, no, we weren't getting along. We weren't seeing eye to eye. So I tried to fire my attorney. They did not allow me to fire my attorney. They let me keep the attorney. And at this point, they told me, well, you're going to go to trial. I'm like, okay. Well, now I'm really scared because it's either take the 4 years, or if I go to trial and lose, automatic double life. I would have had to do two life sentences. That's pretty much what I was up against. So you can imagine the stress I was under. But I am a Christian, for those of you who are Christians know, and if you're not a Christian, I don't have nothing against you. I'm not here to discuss religion, but I am a Christian. I started practicing my religion in the jail. I started going to church, and I was actually the jail chaplain, as they say. I was actually preaching. So as I was preaching, I kept telling God, Lord, if you get me out of this, I promise you, Lord, I will never, ever go back to doing drugs again. I will never do it. Well, here's what happened. As I was about to go to trial, pick my jury trial, what happened was they came and they said, do you want to take that deal? We offered you 5 years, and now that deal's off the table. We're back up to the 9 years. You either take that 9 years, sir, or you're going to trial. And if you lose the trial, you're going to get that double life. Well, I didn't listen. That's me. I'm stubborn. I did not listen. And just before I was getting ready to go to trial, God answered my prayers. Here's what happened. They called the attorneys up to the podium because I was getting ready to pick my jury. And I kept praying and praying. And I'm like, Lord, if this is how I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Because what I was going to do, and I told my mom, that if I get that life sentence, you can prepare my funeral. I was going to hang myself in prison. So you see what I'm saying? Look where I am now. Look where I was then. I was actually going to hang myself. So I told my mom, if God doesn't get me out of this, I'm going to hang myself, and I guess I'm going to hell for killing myself, because I guess we believe as Christians that if we hang ourselves, nobody has the right to take, we don't have the right to take our lives. Whether that's true in the Bible or not, I don't know. But, we don't have the right to take our own lives. So I told God, you either get me out of this, Lord, or I'm going to hang myself, and I guess I'm ready to meet the devil. Well, here's what happened. They called my attorneys to the podium. My attorneys came back. They actually collaborated for about 30 minutes. Well, I'm just sitting there, and I'm wondering what's going on. What's going on? You know what they did? They came back and they said, Mr. Pires, here's what's going to happen. The judge now is speaking. The judge tells me, you know what? We're going to drop all charges and you're going home. That was holding off in prayer. So I beat it. I beat the charges. They even said it. The judge told me, we really had no evidence on you, but we wanted you to take that deal at 9. Why? Because the state gets paid, to get paid to keep me in prison. And to go to trial, let me tell you something. To go to trial, it costs $10,000 each day. Now, that was in 95. That was in 89, I'm sorry. Actually, no, 91, because it was 89, I went to jail. I got out in 91, and I was facing the life, which I'm talking about right now. That was in 90, 91, 92, somewhere around there. It costed them $10,000 to go to trial. So I said, you know something? If I'm going to get this life, I'm going to waste the state's money. And the trial was going to be like about a week. Well, here's what happened. As the getting ready to go to trial, I was getting ready to pick my jury. That's when I said, well, I already said that. The judge said, we're going to let you go. And because we had no evidence on you, we're going to let you go. Well, you know what? I got on my knees and I just thanked the Lord that I was able to, that he gave me a second chance. God gave me a second chance. So if anybody out there is going to tell me that there's no God, excuse my language, bullshit. Okay? There is a God. That only came from God. That was spiritual. That didn't come from nobody but God. Because I was going to hang myself, as I said. Well, let me tell you something. It didn't end there. What happened was I beat those charges. I went on the street. And you want to know something? Within 48 hours to a week, I can't remember. It's been so long. It was just, like I said, this was in 95, 93, somewhere around there. I got back on the street, and within 1 week, I was back in prison again, facing double life one more time. Same crime. Everything was all the same. Now I'm facing it again. You know what everybody in the jail told me? You know, you beat it one time. You're not going to beat it again. You just got out in 1 week. You think you're going to beat it again? Here I am under the gun again. I'm like, okay, let's see if we can do this again. And this time I was even more scared because I was going to be facing the same exact judge. He just seen me a week ago. There's no way he's going to allow me to beat this again. Even the judge, I feel, was going to be against me. So I found myself under the gun again, facing it one more time within 1 week. Who does that? Well, here's what happened. I did the same exact thing. Went to the law library. They actually appointed me the same exact attorney. This time, I didn't want that attorney, and I tried to fire him again. And this time, I was able to put my case together because I got a little bit more knowledge of the laws and what I can do. So I said, here's what we're going to do. I want to fire my attorney, which is called a show cause hearing, and I want to have a mock, M as in Mary, O-C-K. Mock trial is considered a fake trial. You can actually get a fake trial and have jurors come in, which is going to cost the state more money, including the $10,000 to go to real trial. Because they have to bring in another set of jury, a fake jury, not a fake jury, but a fake trial without the hype. A fake trial, and it would have cost them an additional $10,000. So we're looking at $20,000 a day to take me to trial. You're going to give me life? Well, I'm going to make you spend money. So I said I want a mock trial and I want a show cause hearing because I didn't want my attorney. So I ended up firing my attorney. They allowed me to fire my attorney. It was a conflict of interest. And I ended up firing my attorney. And what happened was I was sitting in jail. I'm like, now what's going to happen? So here's what happened. They went ahead. The state hired a real attorney on the street to take my case. That's God. They hired a real attorney. And this real attorney, I'm like, where am I getting the money? I don't have the money to pay for this attorney. It was going to cost me like, I think, $20,000 for this attorney. I told my mom, put a mortgage on your house. My mom says, I'm not going to put a mortgage on my house of $20,000 to get an attorney. She's like, you know what? You got to trust God. He got you out once. If God wants you to get out of this again, he's going to do a miracle. And I'm like, Mom, no. Get a mortgage on your house. And my mom says, no, I'm not doing that. And I told my mom, well, if you don't get a mortgage on your house, then you know what? I'm not your son anymore. Meaning that I want nothing to do with you anymore. And if I beat this, Mom, I will never, ever talk to you again. I'm putting the blame on my mother, you know. And my mom has a house with basically no mortgage on it. She owns it free and clear, the house I grew up on. And she didn't want to put that mortgage on her back. And she said, you know, you got to trust God that he's going to get you out of this. If he did it once, God can do it again. I'm like, God hates me right now. He doesn't want nothing to do with me. I mean, I went against his word. I did it again. So they actually gave me a real attorney. The state also hired a contractor, which is actually somebody who builds houses, because the lady, which is actually my next door neighbor, was saying that I was the one that broke in her house. And it actually wasn't me that did it this time. I didn't do the crime this time. This time it was the people I was hanging with. At this point, my wife was, you know, she knew I was on drugs. My wife left me. This is why I'm divorced. And all because I was a good husband, but I never cheated on my wife. I'm not a cheater. I'm one of those guys that's very committed when I'm in a relationship. Yeah, I like to flirt and tea and like all that, but it's one thing. I've never been a guy that cheats. I've never ever cheated in my life with any woman I've been with. So my wife just decided that was it. She couldn't put up with it no more, and she thought I was going to get life. So my wife ended up sending me the divorce papers while I was in prison. So I had the divorce papers. I'm under the gun, facing life again, and also my mom had a heart attack because she was stressed out. And come to find out, it wasn't a heart attack at all. She was actually under stress. She was stressed out. She had a stress attack. So this is what I caused my family while I was going through all this. And excuse me, because it's really emotional. And this is why I don't like sharing my story. But excuse me. All right. I'm back. All right. So I put my family through a lot of stress. My wife left me. She sent me the divorce papers, and I could not contest it. Normally, if I was on the streets, I could have contested it and say, look, I don't want a divorce, blah, blah, blah. And then it would have been some other legal stuff she would have had to do. But since I was locked up and I could not make the court date to contest it, they went ahead and gave her a divorce. Now, this is after 15 years being with my wife. We had a home. We ended up losing our home in foreclosure because of all this. She couldn't afford the mortgage. So we ended up, going in foreclosure. She moved to Maine. Now, Maine is where her family is right now, and that's where she resides right now. So I had all this against me, facing life. My mom's in the hospital because I thought she had a heart attack, and here I am facing this time. So I needed all the prayers I could get. So I told my mom, after she got out of the hospital, they found that it was just a stress attack. She got out of the hospital and she's like telling me, you need to take that deal. Do not put me under that stress this time, son. Take the deal. I rather you, my mom said this. She says, I rather you take that 20 years. And at that time, I was 33 years old. So there you do the math and you see how old I am. I'm actually going to be 54 years old. I probably don't look it, but I'm going to be 54 years old. And I was actually 33 years old and under the gun. And like I said, my mom told me to take the deal. She says, I'd rather see you in 20 years, meaning the age I am now. And believe it or not, and this is where the part really hurts me too. This year, right now, in 2016, would have been the time I would have been getting out of prison right now. I went to jail in 1996, 1995, and I would have had to do 20 years. Brings it to 2016, if I did my math right. I would have just been getting out of jail. I would have got out in June of this year if I had got the life. Well, I fought it, and I was on trial actually the same time, to give you an idea, when that OJ Nicole thing, when he killed Nicole and all that, whether he did it or not. Some say he did it, some say he don't, but that's another story. I was on trial the same time OJ was on trial. Okay, and I said, something, God, I got on my knees. Again, I was a chaplain in church again, and they didn't look at me as this chaplain no more. And all the people in jail, of course, they're all negative. They say, yeah, you call yourself a Christian, but look at you back in jail again, facing life again. And no, it's not funny. I'm laughing about it now, and they're like, we don't even want to listen to you. Well, I had my little group of Christian friends, and I said, something? And I was actually trying to bring an atheist aboard. I was talking to this atheist in prison, and this atheist says, listen, there is no God, and you're not going to beat it this time. You know what I said? I kept believing, and I kept holding on to faith. And I kept telling this atheist, I said, something? And I just went on faith, and I said, watch me beat it again. Watch this person I call God get me out of this again. And you know what the atheist said? You got to be really crazy thinking that you're going to beat this again. You just seen the judge a week ago for the first life. You think you're going to beat it again? And I said, watch me. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do a miraculous thing again. I'm going to beat it again. with God's help, of course. Well, as I get ready to go to trial, this time, they didn't allow me to beat it this time. You know what they told me? You're going to go to trial, buddy. And I had to pick my jury for that day. And of course, you know, if you guys don't know, I mean, I'm black. I'm Cape Verdean, which is I'm half Portuguese and half African, if you want to say. So I said, you know something? And at that time, and I'm not trying to sound racist, but at that time, they were hanging anybody that was Spanish, Mexican, black. They were hanging us for that life sentence. And like I said, I'm not going to be racist because, number one, let me tell you something. My wife is white. My kids are half white. So it goes to show you that I'm not racist. So I'm like, these white people are going to hang me. I'm just being real because I'm real. That's why I'm the real deal marketer. And I just said, you know, these white people are going to hang me this time. So I got ready to pick my jury. I literally had to pick my jury. And of course, being black, you know what I wanted. I wanted an all-black jury or Spanish, something, because they actually thought I was Spanish. They actually thought I was Spanish in the jail. So you see the look I had right now, how I look with the hair. And I do have hair. I just cut it because I don't like the grays to come. And I have an all-gray beard. I don't like it. You know, I want to stay looking 29. You know what I'm saying? I know I don't look 29, but I'm just saying. So what I did is before I went to the jury, the actual witness that was the same thing, the witness that she see me walking by the house, she said she see me walking by the house with a cord hanging down covered with a sheet. And the owner said his TV was stolen, but I was walking on the sidewalk. They never caught me on the property. I'm not glorifying it, but I was pretty good at robbing people's houses while they were asleep home. And so what happened is I walked on the street and the witness said, oh, we seen this gentleman walking by the house at the time the crime was committed. And as I said, I had to pick my jury this time. So here's what happened. I actually cut all my hair off, cut my beard off. I had a Fu Manchu like that. It was so weird. I used to have two beards. I would have it going like this, and then I would have another thin layer going underneath and back over. So I had like two sideburns, two mustaches. I was a wreck, but I always like to be different. And it's not because I want attention. It's just my personality. And you guys don't know this, but my ears, on each side of my ears, I have my ears pierced 5 times on each side. I just don't wear the earrings right now. You know, I'm in real estate. I'm trying to, professional, whatever. But I have my ears pierced 5 times. And that all signified my children, because I have 4 children. I have 1 stepdaughter. So all the earrings signified my children. So what I did is I took the earrings off. I cut my hair off to just like I look now. And I went to trial. I said, I'm going to fool this person that seen me, because the person that supposedly seen me, it was around this time. It was nighttime. It was like midnight, 11 o'clock. And she said she seen me. So I'm like, okay, so now she got to identify me. I'm going to screw with her, number one. So we went to court. And I had to pick my jury. And do you know they would not allow me to pick a black jury? Of course they're not going to. They allowed me to have 1 black juror on the panel. 1. And the rest were different races. I think there was 1 Hispanic, and the rest were all white. And I'm like, this is a jury of my peers, what they call it. They always say jury of your peers. These white people are going to hang me. I'm not going to make it this time. And I'm like, okay, well, fine. I guess I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to kill myself. And I was going to hang myself with a bed sheet if I got it. And I told my mom, if I get it, this is what's going to happen, Mom. Well, I ended up picking my jury, 1 black juror, 1 Spanish juror, and the rest were all white. And you have 12 jury members. And here's how you got to get convicted. When you get convicted, so you know, and you guys are getting in trouble, I'll let you know. If you get convicted of a crime, it has to be, all the jurors have to agree. All 12 have to agree. If 1 disagrees, it's called a hung jury. So they all have to agree. So what happened is I ended up picking the jury, going to trial, and here's what happened. I ended up going to trial, and they bring out all the evidence. So the actual person that actually seen me doing this crime, they came in and they bring her in as a testimony. And they asked her, they said, well, do you see the defendant in the courtroom? And she looked around, she's looking, she goes, because remember, I didn't say this, I had hair like Rick James. Michael Jackson, before he died, I had shoulder length hair, all, like curly. It's called a perm. I had a perm, long hair. You know, you guys can't imagine me with that. I had a long perm, so I cut my hair off, looked like I did, went to the juror, and the jury was saying, I mean, not the jury, the person that seen me said, no, I don't see the person in court today. Kind of looks like that guy right there. And she, you know what she said? Number one, they don't know my nationality. They think I'm Spanish. So she actually said, no, he's a Spanish guy that did the crime. And that guy right there, meaning me, she goes, he looks like the guy, but it was a Spanish guy. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not Spanish. So I whispered to my attorney, I'm not Spanish. You know, I'm black. You know, and in California, black is black, African black. And when I tell people in California I was black, they couldn't believe it. They actually called me a white boy with a tan. In California, do you believe that? They called me a white boy with a tan, they said. And then they said, you don't talk black. Why? Because I don't say, you know, I don't say, yo, what's up, my brother? I don't say, yo, what's up, my nigga? Oh, I don't talk like that on the, you know, to professional people. Yeah, I do it on Hangout sometime, but that's only joking. But my real self, I don't talk that Ebonics talk on the street. If you know me on the street, you won't hear me talking too much like that. A little bit, but not too much. So they couldn't pick me out. The state also hired like I said, a contractor, because the lady said that I went in her apartment, her house, and stole over $20,000 worth of tools from a square as big as what you're seeing me right here. That I went in her window. You know, on garages, you have a window, which is like the size of my computer. She said I took $20,000 worth of stuff out of her garage, and she said she's seen me in her garage. She didn't see me. It was my crackhead friends. They broke in her garage because I had told them that she's not there. She's on vacation. I was literally supposed to be watching her house. And what happened was they went ahead and they broke in her house. And this lady had an alarm in her house. The alarm didn't go off. You know why? Because they didn't break in the door. She had one of those doors that had a window as long as a door. All the way down was the window. So they broke the window, the triple glass pane, and they went in through the window without blowing up the, without breaking the door down. And they got in and they stole everything in her house. I didn't do it. And I'm not a person to go tell. You know, we got a code on the street. You don't tell on each other. You don't tell. You know, we call it a knock. You know, somebody who chatty catty who likes to run their mouth. And if you're known as a knock on the street, of course they're gonna kill you if you go to prison. They're gonna say that I told. So I just took it upon myself to take. I took the deal, even though I didn't do the crime. So this time I went to trial, and here's what happened. I went to trial for a week. It took a week, and then here's what happened after that. And I'm gonna kind of finish up my story here because it's getting late. So what happened was at the end of the day, at the end of the week, what happened was that they said, will the defendant please rise? And now it's either I'm getting life or I'm going home. And I took that gamble, go home or life. And they even came with the 4-year deal, and I didn't take it. So imagine how I would feel if I got the life instead of taking a 4-year deal. They said, the defendant, please rise. And it was a day, I remember this. It was a day after OJ had beat it. And then I'm like, you know something, God? If you're God and you're really God, just because OJ has money, God, if you wanted him to get that life, you could have allowed him to get it. Money has nothing to do with it. There's nobody that has more power than God. I don't care how much money you got. Donald Trump doesn't have more power than God. So I'm like, God, if you can give it to him, you can do it to me. So when they said the defendant, please rise, they came back and they said, we the jury. And I looked at the jury, and the jury would not even look at me. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I stood up. Man, I was so petrified. I was sweating. I was so scared. my heart, it wasn't even beating. It stopped beating. It literally stopped beating. I could feel it, that it wasn't even beating. They said, will the defendant rise? And when I got up, they said, we, the jury, find the defendant. And they paused. It seemed like 5 minutes. They paused for maybe like 15 seconds, but it seemed like five. It seemed like an hour. And they came back. Juror 1, how do you find the defendant? Juror 1, not guilty. Juror 2, not guilty. And went all the way to 12 jurors, and all the jurors came back unanimous, not guilty. You know, I was so happy. I started crying like I am now, you know, and I actually hugged my attorney because he was a real attorney. He did his job, and I actually kissed him. No, I didn't kiss him on the lips. You know, I kissed him on the cheek. I hugged him so hard. And you know what he told me? He says, you beat it again. He said, you must live life right because you beat it twice and within a week. So I beat it. I got out of prison and I got the hell out of California. When I got out, you know what happened when I got out? You talking about police brutality. One thing I never had. I never had that police brutality, all that stuff you see on TV. Never happened to me, and I was doing all those crimes, and the police knew that I was out there doing all this stuff. But I've never been a victim of police. So all the people that are out there that are having these problems, you know, I can't speak for them, but I never had that problem. But when I got out, here's what the cop said. The cop seen me, and he goes, "You beat it again?" I said, "Yep, I beat it twice." And he goes, "You know something? I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you." Because I beat it. He was mad because I beat it. So what is that telling me? That now he's going to plant something on me. And you know the golden rule we say in life, 3 strikes, you're out. And I was not going to give them another chance to give me another trial again. And I already knew that if I stood there, and when I got out, my house was already foreclosed. I was sleeping in the backyard of my house, even though it was boarded up, foreclosed. It was boarded up. My wife had already left. I was already divorced. My kids, you know, I lost respect to my kids, everything. Got back out, and I didn't have the money to get back. My sister emailed me. My sister sent me the money, Western Union, and I remember it was like, I think, $1,000 or $800, and she wired me the money to take the actual bus to come back. So it literally took me like 6 days to get back from California. So I took the bus. She let me the money. Actually gave it to me. Gave me the money. I got back, and from 1996, when I was facing that, till now, I never had a problem with the law no more. I actually committed to what I said I was going to do. I told God I would never do this again. I would never go back on crack. I did get out, and I did relapse a little bit. I never went back to jail again, but I did relapse again with the drugs. I was actually on parole. I relapsed again, and my parole officer said, we're going to put you in a rehab. I went to a rehab for 14 days. And when I went to that rehab for 14 days, I got back out. I started, I was an in-house rehab. I got back out, and I right back to drugs again, you know, until, you know, like I said, I got popped and I went to jail. But anyways, I got back out. I went back home, and I've never touched drugs again. And then I got back into the real estate, because when I was out there is when I said I was doing the real estate out there. I lost all my properties. I mean, I forgot how many houses I had at that time. I had like 3 or 4 houses out there at the time doing my real estate of what I'm doing today. And I lost all my properties. They went to foreclosure. So I literally had nothing to my name. I went from, you know, having massive success to nothing. So, and actually, and let me tell you something else. You know how they say that you're a product of your environment or where you live sometimes, or how you grew up, or if you grew up in the ghetto. I'm a guy that grew up with a perfect childhood. There's no perfect, but you know what I mean. I grew up, my mom and dad are still married today. I grew up with values. I grew up with where if I got in trouble, my mom was going to lay the smack down on my candy ass. My mom don't play, okay? And my mom, till today, my mom is 73 years old. But if you see my mom, she looks about 53 years old. My mom works out. She bodybuilds. And my mom, till today, will whip my black ass. Okay? I don't mess with my mom till today. And of course, that's my mom. I'm not going to hit my mom. Come on now. So, I got back in church, got back serving God, got back into the real estate. And right after that, shortly after that, I got out. Well, the devil was not done with me. It didn't end there. Here's what happened. Yeah, I beat the life sentence twice. The devil wasn't done. I got back out. I came back to Massachusetts, Cape Cod, because that's where I grew up, in Cape Cod. I never grew up in the ghetto. I grew up in a nice area. My mom has an acre of land. I grew up with values and no disrespect to my parents, anything, because I was gonna get beat up. My mom don't play, as I said. So I got back. I came back, and literally about maybe 3 weeks later, here's what happened. I was in a serious car accident. So here first, let me remind you, I beat life twice, all right, facing the life, because I was going to kill myself on both occasions on the life sentence. And then I got out and I got into this car accident. And I was actually crushed. And I don't know how to explain this, but here's what happened. A guy crossed the center line. He hit me head on. And I had a big car. It's called a Ford Brougham. I had an 86 Ford Brougham. It's a big car. It's like a mid-sized Cadillac. It was a big car. Well, let me tell you something. When that guy hit me, and I was on the back roads, I remember I had just got out of the gym. I had my tank top on, and I was actually going to go to work. Go to work, and I'm all pumped up, and want to show off muscles and all that. And so he hit me head on, and the front tire was that far away from my crotch. That's how far that he pushed that car in. And they had to use the jaws of life to get me out. And I remember them saying, are you all right? Are you all right? And I'm like, what happened? You know how you wake up from a dream? If somebody wakes you up in your dream? I thought I was dreaming, like I was sleeping. And I'm like, what happened? The steering wheel was like this. The steering wheel was bent right around me, meaning that the back on each side of the steering wheel where you put your hand was literally touching the back seat. So I was pinned to the seat. So they literally had to cut the roof off to get me out. And they said, are you all right? I said, yeah, what's happening? I walked out, no broken bones. I had a bruised heart, and I had 2 black eyes, of course, because my head went right through the windshield. They literally pronounced me dead on arrival. I was literally dead. So I beat life 3 times. Cats have 9 lives. Well, I just beat 3 lives right there. The 2 lives of killing myself and the life of the car accident. So I beat it. And when I went to the hospital, I woke up and they had all these tubes on my chest and everything. But I didn't have no broken bones. I did break my nose, but the bone behind was my face bone I broke. Okay. So I broke the face bone. I didn't break my nose, which it was weird. I hit, but I broke. And this tooth that's missing, that's from the accident. I had a cap in it, but it literally recently broke because I tried to open up a water bottle. It broke my retainer cap, and I've just been too lazy to go to the dentist. I have insurance. I'm just too lazy to go, too busy. So I got to go fix that. So that's why I didn't want to make videos, because of this tooth. That was all from the accident. So I tried to find my tooth. Well, check this out. My mom came to the hospital the next day. And she's like, oh, how you feeling? I was like, I feel fine. But all I did is I had a pain right in my chest, right here. Right? And I'm thinking that was my breastbone because the steering wheel, and I went right through the windshield. I had a concussion too. So I don't remember the actual accident, but I remember the next day waking up with the tubes all in my chest. And so at that point, my mom brought the pictures in. She came and she showed me some pictures of the car. I said, what happened? I didn't even know what happened. I'm like, what happened? Remember, now I had a concussion. I'm like, why am I in the hospital? Why do I get these tubes in me? And what happened? My mom said, you don't know what happened? I'm like, no, what? Why did I get these tubes? I'm literally trying to, I got up, I woke up in a panic. I'm like trying to pull the tubes off. I'm like, what the hell? I said, last I know, I just came back from the gym. I was on my way to work. I did remember that much. I just got back from the gym. What am I doing? Did I have a heart attack? They go, no, you wasn't a car. I said, car accident? What are you talking about, Mom? My mom showed me the pictures of the car. And like I said, it was an accordion. It was crushed like a small box. And I was crushed into the car. I walked away alive. I beat it. No broken bones, no broken leg. My knees were in my chest. And then the the front tire was, like I said, that much away while my knees are in my chest from my crotch. So it could have damaged my manhood. I don't know how to say it. So I talked to the doctor. And I said, doctor, what's up? And he goes, all right, you have a broken face bone, you have broken face, you have 2 black eyes, and you have a bruised heart. So I'm like, okay, bruised heart, no big deal. He said, I want you to, don't do anything for 6 months, and then your heart, I can guarantee you it's going to be okay. I said, really? I'm not going to have a heart attack as I get older? Or what? He said, no, I can guarantee you, my doctor, he said, I can guarantee you, if you just heal yourself for 6 months, he said, a bruised heart is serious, but the shape of you in, the shape you were in, he said, your heart's in great shape, that I don't have no problem with thinking that you're going to recover. Well, you know what? I'm stubborn. I've always been stubborn, and that's why I'm successful now, not to brag, because I'm a fighter. One thing about me is I'm a fighter. So what I did is I went back to the gym a week later, and I kept getting this pain in my chest. And I'm like, what? I'm thinking it's just my breastbone, like the bones, because, I hit the steering wheel. And I went back to the doctor, and I'm like, I feel good, doc. I'm lifting, because, I was all muscular, and I started losing all my muscles. I'm losing. And when you're big like that, I was really muscular. I was shriveling down. I was losing all my muscles. I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm going to go back to the gym. I went back according to what the doctor said, and I had this pain in my chest. And when I had the pain in my chest, I went back to the doctor. I'm like, why am I having this pain? I was getting sharp pains in my chest. And he goes, listen, you fool. He literally said that. He said, you're a fool. He said, you know what that is? That's your heart. It's contracted. It's bruised. I'm like, yeah, a bruise is a bruise. A bruise. I'm like, no big deal. You know what the doctor told me? He said 98%, I think it was 95 or 98% of the people, or 1 out of 10, like a 9, 1 out of 9. He said most people that get a bruised heart, he said they die in 10 minutes. I'm like, what? Are you serious, though? He said they die in 10 minutes. They don't live. They don't make it. Man, I actually, I really started bawling. And my mom showed me the car, and the doc says, you need to heal yourself. You'll be all right, but do not go to the gym. Let your heart, it can't contract like that, going to the gym and doing cardio. So I listened, and I'm like, oh, my God. He said, you could have a heart attack if you try to go lift weights. Let your heart heal. So I actually listened to the doctor at that time, and I made a full recovery. Never got back in trouble, went back to my church that I was going to in Mass, and I gave the testimony to my church members of everything that I just explained to you. My mom did not want me to do that. My mom was a private person, kind of like I am. My mom said, please do not get in front of the church and tell that testimony, because everybody knows my mom as a leader in that church. And they didn't know that. They knew my mom had kids, but they didn't know what I was going through as far as like getting in trouble. They knew I came back from California, but they didn't know my struggles or what I went through. So my mom, I just, out of my mom's orders, I just said, you know what? I have to glorify God. I have to give him the praise. I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to give my testimony, because you know why? You never know if I could help somebody else going through the same thing that I went through. And literally that's what happened. I went and gave my testimony. My mom kind of like crumbled up in the church, in the church. She crumbled up, and she was so embarrassed that I was giving my testimony, even though she didn't want to. My dad said, go do it, and give God the glory. And that's what I do. So God, I want to thank you for everything that you've done in my life. And I literally gave my testimony in church. And you know what happened was that a gentleman walked up to me after the church was over, and he actually was in real estate like me. And he says, I own 3 properties right now. And he says, I'm losing them. And I like, why? He said, because I got on drugs. I'm doing crack. I actually taking money from my mortgages and I'm losing my property. And I haven't been to jail yet. He said, but I'm doing drugs. And he says, by listening to my testimony, I actually was a witness to him and I helped him get off drugs. So you see, it was meant for me to get in that trouble, to be a blessing to somebody else that was going through the same thing, exact same thing I went through. He just didn't get in trouble yet. It was bound. He was literally going to get in trouble pretty soon, but he lost all, he was getting ready to lose all his properties. And so I was actually a blessing to him. And here we are in 2016, and I never went back to jail. I got back in the church. So now, I serve God. I'm a Christian. I am not perfect, and I definitely am not perfect. Nobody is, okay? I do make mistakes just like all of you. So here I am now. I got back into the real estate, and I actually built my real estate career up to another 3 million where I have now. So I built it up, and then when 2007 came, I literally lost everything I had. I lost all my properties in short sales because the economy took a dive. My properties weren't worth the value that they were. They went from being worth 3 million to being worth 200,000. 3 million to 200,000, and I just had to let it go. I let it go, and I lost everything again. So these were my struggles. And then what I did is I got back into it, and I rebuilt it back up again to where I am now, having all these properties and everything. So I built it up, and then now I'm doing internet marketing, and that is actually my story. So I wanted to leave you guys with that. And now what I'm here is I'm making it happen. And now I like to help people they're struggling with their marketing. If you're struggling in your personal life and you need someone to reach out to, if you're on drugs, I've been through the ringer. I've been through it all. Not all, but but I've been through it. I literally lost my life. I was in jail. I was on drugs. Okay, but when you guys see me, you guys don't know all that. Okay, you guys see me as this, maybe the comedian, whatever, because that's really who I am. I like to make people laugh. I like to joke with people. I like to tease people. And Katie, if you're here, I love teasing you. And Terry, that's just who I am. And here's who I am. If I tease you and I mess with you, it's because I love you. And that's just who I am. If you don't like who I am, so be it. But this is who I am. I like to play with people and tease people. This is my personality. Hey, it's better than being a snob. It's better than being somebody you can't approach. So that's pretty much my life, guys. I'm actually going overboard. It's been an hour and a half. But fast forward, I'm now doing the internet marketing along with my real estate with you guys. So my topics are going to be on marketing. I'm all going to have a new subject every week. And if there's anything in the week that you want me to touch on in my Hangouts, it's going to be every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. If there's anything in the week you want me to touch on, let me know ahead of time before Tuesday comes. Like at least give me a 24-hour notice or a 48-hour notice of what you want me to cover, and I'll cover it in this Hangout. And I'm here to serve you guys. I'm here to help. I don't really care. Yeah, we're in this business to make money, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not here for the money. Yeah, I make money with this business, but I'm here to help. I have money coming in from real estate, and I just want to get rid of the real estate, and I want to do this full time. I still do it full time, but, I just want to replace my real estate income, and I want to do this thing we call internet marketing. So that's my story, guys. I want to thank you guys. I don't know who's on, who's not on here. Just want to give you a little idea of who I am, my background tonight, and let you know that I will be here every Tuesday. Every Tuesday at 8 o'clock, giving some value. And yeah, you can approach me. I am not a bad guy. I'm not doing that stuff I was. I'm not a thug anymore. I'm not beating people up and all that. First off, I'm a little bit too old for that right now. I am in shape, but I'm going to be 54 years old in a couple of months, or whatever. And I give back to the community. I just love to help people. So if you're struggling in this business, come on my Hangouts every Tuesday. Let's get together. Let's talk. And I will do the best I can to help you. So that's my story, guys. I want to wish all of you for joining me. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional. It's just that I just hate bringing up my story, because what I put my wife through, my kids through, and my family through. And I just have to think about that all the time. And it just, I don't want to go back. I don't even want to think about my past. But I felt I had to share my story. And why I shared my story, because I'm very transparent. I want to be honest and let you know who I am. And also, this might help you, because if I can do it coming from the streets, being a crackhead, being out there doing this, you know what? You can do it too. All you got to do is be consistent. Never give up in this business, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how you think you can't do it. Listen, here's the statistics. And this is coming from somebody who never did this or anything in life you do. They say if you do something consistently for 5 years, you are then the expert at it. So no matter what it takes in this business, I'm telling you, do not quit. I quit in this business 99,000 times. Not literally, but I quit that many times for 5 minutes. But I hate when something beats me, and I'm not going to let nothing beat me. And this right here is not going to beat me, this marketing. And so now I'm starting to have success, and lucky I didn't quit. So that's my story. So I'm going to let you guys go with that. And I will see you every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. You guys can join me. And as I said, get with me during the week if you want to cover some want me to cover some subjects. And maybe I'll even get you guys on the Hangout with me, and we can mastermind together. And also, I want to tell you that leave your comments in the blog. Let me know your story. If you have a story like mine, similar, or if you need any help besides marketing, if you want some encouragement in your life, if you are struggling with drugs or anything like that, I'm here to help you. I've been through it. So I feel I'm an expert in that subject of my past in this marketing thing we call marketing. Not an expert in marketing, but I'm pretty close to it. Not to brag, but I'm getting better at this. So I will see you guys next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. My name is Chris Pires. They call me the Real Deal Marketer, and I will see you guys at the top. I'll catch you Tuesday night, guys. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening to my story. I'll see you next Tuesday. Peace.